Professor Brenda Wingfield is the Deputy Dean in the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Science and Professor in the Department of Genetics at the University of Pretoria. Her research program focuses on the molecular genetics of plant pathogenic fungi. She and collaborators have just completed sequencing the genome, which is the first for Africa. Brenda has been an NRF-rated scientist for many years and is internationally recognized for her research. She has published more than 250 peer-reviewed scientific articles and trained 36 masters and 38 PhD students. She travels internationally on a regular basis and has active research collaborations with scientists in the field all over the world. Her awards include the DST Distinguished Women in Science Award 2008 and the AU Regional Awards for Women in Science 2009. She's also very active in the scientific community, promoting science and science excellence at every level. She has served on a number of committees and panels nationally in this context. This is her second term as NSTF chairperson. I now invite Brenda to the stage.
I think that was a wonderful introduction, but a little bit too much, perhaps. And I do see what you are talking about in terms of water. And while I'm thinking about water, I should mention that 2011 is in actual fact also the International Year of Forestry. So I think we're watering the trees here, and if you have problems, Gillian has invited you to see the people sitting next to you as molecules, and if you have a problem with that, maybe trees would be more appropriate. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Honourable Minister Pandor, Director General of DST, Dr. Mjwaha, Dr. Rampela, our current Chairman of TIA, other government dignitaries who are actually too many to actually mention, universities principals, vice principals, presidents and CEOs, deans and other leaders of our science and engineering communities. And of course a very special welcome to our NSTF members, the finalists, and of course the adjudication panel who I know are sitting in the audience. So tonight with these awards, we are in actual fact attempting to change perceptions. And most of you should know that one's perception is one's reality. Your perception is your reality. And in actual fact, Einstein had something to say about that. He said, reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. So tonight, what we're trying to do is to try and change people's perception, which I've said is their reality, of how people perceive scientists, engineers, and technologists. So how does the world perceive scientists? I would suggest that most people, if you mention the word scientist, think of a mature man, probably of Anglo-Saxon descent, somewhat similar to what Einstein looked like in his older years. And while I'm hoping that we have changed that perception a little bit in the last while, we still have a long way to go in changing people's perceptions about a career in science, engineering, and technology. So how do we go about doing this? Well, we're doing this in terms of recognizing our scientists, recognizing our engineers, and encouraging them to tell us their stories. And one of the perceptions that I always have a huge problem with, that people have this perception of a scientist as somebody who hides away in a laboratory, someone who doesn't communicate with people. And this is a very common perception, and certainly whenever I interact with learners, and in actual fact the university that I work for has an open day every year, and every year I have the same comment from a variety of very bright young learners. They say, well, they don't want to be a scientist, because don't scientists just sit in laboratories and they don't communicate with people? Well, as you can see, I'm sitting in a laboratory and I'm hiding away and I'm not communicating with anyone. So sometimes I wish that that would be the career path and career trajectory for a scientist. And that is an incredibly common perception, and it's a very sad one, because I think it scares away a lot of people who we'd like to have in our ranks. And in some ways, the science community are themselves to blame for some of these perceptions. As scientists, we are not proactive enough in telling our stories. We don't understand that our stories are actually an incredibly important part of communicating what we do and changing public perception. And we tend to leave storytelling up to the humanities, to the storytellers. And when we do tell stories, our stories have a tendency to be rather boring. We tend to tell factual stories. We focus in on those minutiae. We are not very good at marketing ourselves. After all, if you wanted to be good at marketing, you would have gone and studied marketing at university. And even more so, as scientists, and possibly the engineers are even more worrying in this regard, is we are very worried about people who are too smooth, people who might be snake oil vendors, because we wouldn't want to get too close to somebody like that. So the stories we tell tend to be very scientific. As scientists, we don't like to embellish. We don't exaggerate. We don't do this hype thing, and we never tell convenient half-truths. So I'm not saying that we should stop doing any of that, but we need to start to tell our stories in a way that the public can hear them and understand them. And if the public's perception of people is that a scientist is a boring person who hides away in a laboratory, that's very sad, because certainly from my own perspective, I don't think a career as a scientist is at all boring. It's incredibly varied and exciting. And for me, there is nothing in the world that is as exciting as doing an experiment that has never been done before, of proving something that has never been proved before. That high when you just want to go out there and say, yes, I did it. Of course, the problem is when I get very excited like that, I want to tell somebody about it, and round about halfway through telling somebody about it, I've normally lost them, and somehow it doesn't seem quite so exciting anymore. So we do need to try, as scientists, as engineers, as technologists, we know we are pushing the boundaries of science. The problem is we are the only ones who know where those are. And sportsmen and women have it much easier, because they score goals or they beat opponents, and it's all on TV. It's a bit difficult to capture pushing the boundaries of science. So that is what we're trying to do today at the NSTF, is to celebrate our scientists, to help them tell their stories, to help our engineers explain what it is that they're doing that is exciting. So the NSTF-BHP Billiton Awards is thus about celebrating and profiling scientists, of trying to dramatically improve the public's perception about scientists, engineers, and technologists. To the finalists, I congratulate you all. Just being here tonight, just being on the list, is an achievement in itself.